Literally every day, we will talk to somebody and they will tell us how the sunflower has given them their independence, how the sunflower has given them the ability to go out and be confident to do things that they necessarily wouldn't have done before, because now they know that the places they're visiting, they recognize what hidden disabilities are.
You are listening to episode 54 of the Happy Space podcast. Today, I'm talking with Paul White, CEO of the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower. It's a global program that is helping people with hidden challenges have better experiences in daily life and work. Hi, I'm Clare Kumar, your proudly neuroatypical host, exploring the intersection of productivity and inclusivity. I believe that everyone ought to be able to make their richest contribution, but too often people are excluded from spaces, cultures, and experiences. We can do better. I hope that you find inspiration and encouragement in these conversations, for everyone deserves a happy space. You never really know when something's going to change your life. I think about when I first learned about the term highly sensitive person and Elaine's work. Well, no, I don't, because I can't remember exactly how that happened. In the same way, I don't know when it was that I stumbled upon the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower program, but I am sure it was in my research around invisible challenges and in relationship to my own experience having multiple sclerosis, for which I'm very, very glad that the large majority of time has been in such that the illness has been invisible. You haven't been really able to tell that I have this disease. There have been moments where it has been very apparent, but I've been blessed that those have been few and far between. Also, as I recently was diagnosed with autism earlier this year, I have more fully stepped into this identity of having invisible challenges. And as I look around, boy, is it really clear to me that so many people do. I think in the UK, it's 1 in 5 people. Globally, it's 1 in 7. And as we really understand the breadth of invisible challenges that exists, it's a lot of people. And as we age, boy, that population and percentage grows. So never mind that I don't remember when I stumbled upon it. It has been life-changing. I was immediately intrigued by the program, and I reached out and spoke to one of the incredible staff members there and learned more about it. It took several months. I received an email from Paul White, who is the CEO of the organization, saying, would I be interested in being the Canadian Regional Director? And if you know about the work that I do, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know I've been advocating very seriously for the world to become a more hospitable place, whether it's through design, through culture, through products and services, experiences, whether you're a customer or an employee. I think that we have a greater opportunity to design the world to invite the richest contributions of more people. And this program, this Sunflower, has had a profound impact. And I jumped at the chance to be part of an organization that is really connecting people to conversations that help them be at their best in daily life with those hidden challenges. So wrap all of that, put it all together. And I am very, very proud of the work that this organization is doing. Paul gives us an idea of how the organization started. He talks about how it's grown very, very quickly and unexpectedly to him. You'll hear a bit about that journey. You'll also hear about some of the fantastic work that the Sunflower is doing with the proceeds from the memberships and the organizations that join to actually enrich the lives of people with hidden disabilities around the world. So I hope you enjoy listening to this. And if you're part of an organization that you think could benefit from being part of a program that it really helps to foster an inclusive, safe culture where people can speak up for what they need. If this resonates with you at all, whether you're a customer or an employee, please get in touch with the program. You can find contact information on the site or reach out to me, especially if you're in Canada, and I'll be happy to help you. I am thrilled to see the organization growing very, very much so, and more people getting the help that they need to really show up at their best. So enjoy the episode. Paul White, thank you so much for joining me here on the Happy Space podcast.
You're very welcome, Claire. I'm absolutely delighted to join you today.
I'm thrilled too, because I've been part of the Hidden Disabilities program now. It's over 2 months, and loving not only the opportunity to step in a role of connecting people to the conversations that invite people with hidden challenges to have better experiences, but hearing the stories, the lived experience of people actually with the program. I spoke to a mother yesterday and talking about her son traveling for the first time since the pandemic, and what the Sunflower did with the crew on an airport tarmac, recognizing and seeing the lanyard that he was wearing, choosing to wear, and feeling confident and more comfortable wearing. They recognized him and they said, take your time, take your time. And this is what it's about, right, Paul? So tell us how it got started. Where did this idea come from, and how did it come to be?
So the Sunflower was started in 2016 with Gatwick Airport, and Gatwick Airport recognised that whilst they could see people with visible disabilities coming through the airport, there was clearly people with non-visible disabilities and challenges using the airport that they couldn't see and they couldn't support. And I owned a printing company, and the printing company had the merchandise contract for Gatwick Airport. So one of my colleagues came back from Gatwick and said, I've had a meeting with somebody at Gatwick, and they got this idea about using a symbol to be able to support people as they come through non-visible disabilities. So we kind of threw it around in the office about different symbols, and eventually we came up with a sunflower as a symbol, as to be able to people to visibly demonstrate they had a disability. We went back to the airport with the sunflower and said, look, this is the idea behind it. What do you think? And they thought it was a great idea. They kind of then went through their airport advisory groups and some local charities to make sure that it was on point, and it was a usable symbol, and it became used, and they started to use it, and it was an instant success, Claire. It was instantly successful with the employees, and it was equally successful with the passengers. And what happened with is people obviously went to an airport for one reason, which was to travel, and then they started to go to different places, and they also started to want to use the sunflower. So the sunflower kind of grew from there. So initially for me, the truth be told, it was just a commercial decision. We were selling sunflower lanyards, and we were selling a lot of sunflower lanyards. And I just thought we were just going to continue to sell sunflower lanyards until Kingdom Come, and I would disappear and live on an island in the middle of the South Pacific somewhere and be enormously happy. And what happened is I started to get messages from people about how the sunflower had changed their lives, about how, similar to the story that you've just mentioned, how about using the sunflower and using a symbol that I'd helped to create had enabled people to go out and do things they couldn't do before, to go out and to be independent. And there was one email that I've still got that really resonated with me. And a guy emailed me, and he had dementia, or he has dementia. And he used to play walking football with his mates at the local sports venue. And his wife used to drive him to football and pick him up and drive him home. Bus company recognised the sunflower. The bus company joined the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower. And because the bus company recognised the sunflower, he was able to independently get the bus on his own to go and play football with his mates and independently get the bus back. And he told me that had, for the first time, had given him his independence back, that he could do it independently. And that really affected me as a person. And I thought to myself, you know what, this is bigger than me just selling a load of merchandise. This has actually this is actually my opportunity, if you like, to do something good for society. So I kind of did a complete 180 in what we're doing as an organisation. I created the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower program as a business. I then surrounded myself with people who had experience in disability and experience in working in the disability sector, and the program was launched, and we launched from there, and it's been an amazing journey. It's been, I can't say it's been very successful. The sunflower now has become the go-to symbol for non-visible disabilities across the globe. More than 40,000 individual businesses now recognise and support the sunflower. And that's not places, there's significantly more locations, but that's individual businesses. And we provided over 4.5 million lanyards to people with hidden disabilities across the globe. And similar to what you mentioned to me now, literally every day we will talk to somebody and they will tell us how the sunflower has given them their independence, how the sunflower has given them the ability to go out and be confident to do things that they necessarily wouldn't have done before, because now they know that the places they're visiting, they recognise what hidden disabilities are. So that's how it started. That's how we began. And then we've kind of grown from there, and here we are.
Yeah. I love it. I want to plant a seed to come back to, because we're talking here a lot about people in their daily lives having more comfortable, confident, independent experiences. But the program is also great for employees to feel that psychological safety at work. And I want to come back to that, because that's an area I'm particularly interested, being that I felt like I was designed out of work and I didn't have any language to talk about my sensory needs, and how it was very debilitating for me actually to try and stay in that full design of work the way it was. So I want to come back to that. But before I want to come back to that, it's been growing. It's how many countries now?
40 countries
40 countries
across the globe now recognise the sunflower.
Yeah. And I learned about it last year, and called in and spoke to the wonderful Annette in our team, and learned more about the program and fell in love with it the more I learned. One of my initial questions was, is this a charity organization? And I wanted to pose the question to you because when I decided to come on board and work with you, I had to answer the question, like, is this legit? Or like, what is this organization about? Where does the money go? What does it do? And I think when I put together the fact you're in 40 countries, and I know just some of the administrative effort to create a charity in Canada is significant, and it becomes quite burdensome. I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about why it's not a charity and why. Hey, Happy Space listeners, if you're looking to boost your team's performance, look no further. As a productivity expert and inclusivity advocate, I love showing leaders how inclusivity is the key ingredient in team performance. We travel beyond lip service and explore helping everyone truly bring their best selves to work. Ready to see your team soar? Visit clarekumar.com and book a discovery call today.
Sure. So we're not a charity. We are, in essence, a for-profit organisation, and the reason in that is because I had experience in running and managing conventional for-profit businesses, and I really didn't have a huge amount of experience in the disability sector to a certain extent. My daughter's disabled. My daughter's autistic, which meant obviously as a family we had challenges that as every family overcomes. But as an organisation, I didn't really have that experience across the different sectors. So I created the organisation as a for-profit business, and we gain our revenue as an organisation through the businesses that subscribe to the sunflower. So if you're going to be a sunflower-friendly business, we provide training to that organisation as to the meaning of the sunflower, and what hidden disabilities are, and then how to support and how to treat a person that's wearing the sunflower lanyard, and we charge them on that effect. We also ask those businesses to provide the sunflower lanyards for free, and the reason that is because we don't want to financially penalise a person who wants to demonstrate they have a disability. So we ask those businesses, but if somebody doesn't want to go to that organisation, they can go on our site and they can buy themselves a sunflower lanyard. But all of the revenue that we generate is all ploughed back into the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower program, and we use that revenue to really to grow the message and to continue to amplify the message of the sunflower. But we also do what we can to help and to support disabled communities around the globe. So an example of that, Claire, would be in Australia. The organisation in Australia that provides the sunflower is an organisation called Bailey House. Now, Bailey House are a charity that supports young adults with learning difficulties find employment within the community. Mm-hmm. And they use the sunflower for all of they do all the pick and pack and distribution across Australia, which means that the people within who are at Bailey House, they get real employment, they get paid, and they get experience for working in that community when that's complete. We have a similar concept in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi. So our chosen partner in Abu Dhabi is an organisation called Topland that work out of another organisation, which is the Zayed Hire organisation. Now, they again are a very similar organisation to Bailey House, but on a much bigger scale. They are all around getting young adults in the UAE into employment. But not only do they do the pick and pack, they've also created a sunflower manufacturing plant. So they actually also manufacture the sunflower lanyards there, which is super cool. Yeah. So if anybody gets a chance to look on our site, you could see sort of how they're manufacturing and how they're manufacturing. So anybody that obtains a sunflower lanyard anywhere across the Middle East, that lanyard will be manufactured by one of our colleagues working within these factories or in the factory. So there's just a couple of examples of how the sunflower really is kind of giving back to their communities. Oh, and finally, we've currently got a current initiative that we're working with the Pride organisations across Europe. So the Pride organisations are managed by an organisation called IPOA. And we've got a collaboration with IPOA, where we recognised that some of the prides, they wasn't as accessible to disabled people as they could be. So we provide free sunflower merchandise and free sunflower products to any European pride across Europe. They can obtain all the training and the merchandise they contain for free to ensure that their pride is accessible to disabled people. So again, they're just three examples of how we've used the revenue that we've generated as an organisation to kind of give back to the disabled communities across the globe.
I love it. Well, and there's another way too, because you invite members in Canada, charitable members, to be part of the organization with a very low fee. And in Canada, at least, they have an opportunity to potentially resell the lanyard. So they can provide and recover some of the costs. So the charity is not out of pocket providing the service too.
Absolutely. The sunflower gives charities the ability to generate revenue. It gives, because the sunflower is so globally recognized, there's a huge number of charities that are reselling. They're the only organizations we allow to resell the sunflower products. And a lot of times they will have their own logo, their own symbol. It can be relevant to their own communities, whether that's autism or dementia or whatever that is. And then they're able to send that out to their own community, gain that revenue, and obviously then continue to do the work they need to do.
Yeah, because there are costs always to do all of this work. So we need to make sure the money is flowing to support all of these efforts.
Sure.
Yeah. I want to come back to that question I had about employees. And as you think about the growth of the program and you're seeing it evolve in different places, there are different views on inclusivity work in different countries. And I'm wondering what you sense is happening now, what you're noticing about organizations and their care of the employee as well as the customers, which is very obvious to me, that connection. But the employees, what's happening there?
But when the Sunflower was created, it was really created around customer-facing organisations. That's really what it was created for. It was created for an airport environment, but it worked just as well whether that was a retail environment, whether that was a shopping centre, whether that was a sports venue. It all worked on the same on the same thing. See a person wearing a Sunflower lanyard, understand that person has a non-visible disability. You don't need to know what it is. Give that person time, care, patience, and understanding, and just create an environment that is welcoming and accessible for disabled people, whatever their condition, whatever the barriers that that person faces. So it was really clear. But what we didn't really realise is how the Sunflower would impact businesses that aren't customer facing. How the Sunflower would really be able to create or to start to create a culture within an organisation that enables people to disclose that they have a disability without that fear of stigma, without that stigmatisation that naturally comes a lot of time with disclosure. So the Sunflower has been really key to organisations to start to begin that culture where that organisation feels can demonstrate that they are inclusive, demonstrate they are accessible, and can encourage people to disclose they have a disability. Now, once somebody discloses they have a condition, it's then that organisation's duty bound to make those reasonable adjustments that could and should be made to not only make that person's day better, but you get the best out of that employee. It's just a win-win. It's just such a no-brainer for organisations. By supporting your colleagues, by enabling your colleagues to disclose and to make those reasonable adjustments without that fear that they're going to be thought differently by their colleagues, or that future job opportunity may not be there because they disclose. By seeing past that, you get such a more buy-in from that employee, and that can only really lift the productivity of that organisation, and it lifts the whole mantra of that organisation in general. I mean, I'm yet to meet someone, Claire, who hasn't got a touch point with someone with disability, whether that's yourself, whether that's a family, whether that's a colleague, whether that's a neighbour. Everybody has got a touch point to somebody. So everybody gets the opportunity to be involved in regards to the Sunflower, because it supports all disabilities across all levels. And it's a safe space for businesses to start their journey to becoming disability confident. We're certainly not the end of the journey, but in a lot of places we're that start, because so many businesses, they're really struggling with that first step. They seem to get so hung up with terms and conditions and policy and every sort of procedures. And the reality is they just need to start. They just need to start that journey. And the Sunflower has demonstrated time and time again that it's such a great place to start that journey.
Yeah, I've heard comments about fear of having to spend too much money, fear of not knowing how to have the conversation. There seems to be a lot of fear of the unknown. And I think what I've loved in learning about the program is finding the robust support that's in the program, especially for the corporate level membership, so that we have information on disabilities in the program. So you can learn, what the condition is and what it's like to live with that challenge. But then there's a whole section just for corporate members on what workplace considerations could look like, what workplace accommodations or adjustments. And if you were to put dollar values beside a lot of them, they're not expensive. There's patience, there's, a culture of invitation, permission, flexibility. There are a lot of things that don't cost anything. And this starts the conversation, which is...
And a lot of the time in my experience, it really is exactly that. It's just having that conversation. I mean, the reality is you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Every different person you meet is going to have different challenges, different barriers, and need different accommodations. But having that conversation and showing that level of respect and compassion and empathy and interest, and absolute interest, showing that interest in how that person lives their life and what that organisation can do. And as you're exactly right, as you say, it doesn't have to be that you have to move the building 3 feet to the left. It can be just such a simple thing that you can do that demonstrates your support for that person. And businesses everywhere are thirsty for diversity now. All businesses talk about but the reality is organisations that are employing more disabled people than they think they are. It's just that person's disability is not visible, and that person has chosen not to disclose.
Yeah.
So how do you become more diverse? Well, using a sunflower is a simple way, or is one of the tools you can use to start that conversation, to encourage people to be able to disclose, and then you can become that much more diverse organization, which is, and in general, it then means that you're going to be much more approachable for organization and much more relatable
Mhm.
for the for your customer base.
Yeah, it helps your hiring, your retention, and your customer service. So, yeah, I'm lovely, lovely. Tell me a little bit about now it's in 40 countries. What are you noticing about the conversations that are happening, the language that's happening? I'm sensing there's a lot of nuance. I mean, I was born in the UK, we spell things differently. We use different terms. We don't use, our company is the Hidden Disabilities Scheme, but we don't use the word scheme in Canada. It's sort of, it has a bit of a negative connotation. But tell me a little bit about what you're noticing in the conversation around language and just how nuanced we have to be as an organization, making sure that what we're doing lands where we are.
Well, I think the fact that we are called the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower Scheme kind of demonstrates that I didn't realise how big the sunflower would be when it was first created. I had no real aspirations that it would become this global organisation. It really was around supporting people in the UK. It was about seeing the something that I could actively and physically do to try and change the disability landscape in my own small way. So I had no. It was completely irrelevant that scheme meant scam in the US and Canada. And obviously, if I'd have tried to rewind it now, it certainly wouldn't have been called the Hidden Disability Sunflower Scheme. But we are kind of where we are, and the connotations around scheme and hidden and non-visible and non-apparent are always there for us as an organisation. I
Mhm.
mean the I mean, as a global organization, we obviously have to accept, and we do accept cultural nuances. We have to accept cultural nuances in all manners, whether that's on the merchandise and the products that we provide, how we provide the training, in what form, as in how that looks, and certainly in the language that we use. I
Mhm.
mean, as an example of that, again, is in the UAE. Disabled people are called people of determination in the UAE. So a disabled person doesn't exist across the Middle East. It's
Ah,
it's been rephrased into people of determination. So when we're talking about disability in the Middle East, we talk about people with determination. I can't remember how we phrase it with Canada, if it's disabled people or a person with disabilities. But again, we obviously have to ensure that our language is on point, and our
mhm.
language is respectful and relevant. From my perspective, I accept I make mistakes. I accept that I will make mistakes in regards to
Oh,
language,
who
but
won't?
as long as
Yeah.
but as long as in from my perspective, as long as I kind of learn from those mistakes, is I try to treat people with the respect and the kindness that they deserve, and they should receive. I'm going to guess that all those issues can be ironed out as an organisation.
Yeah, and I don't perceive them as issues. I perceive them, as long as we're in conversation, as points of conversation. I had a
Sure.
whole podcast discussion actually about the language of neurodiversity, because even in that world, neurodiverse, neurodivergent, do we like divergent? The idea of being divergent, do we want typical? There's a whole wealth of language to consider. And I talked to Judy Singer, who creator of the term. I talked to Pasha Marlowe. I've talked to Theo Smith. And everyone has slightly a different take. But the big takeaway is, if someone feels comfortable identifying themselves in a certain way, have at it. Even talking to Elaine Aaron about the term highly sensitive people and the term neurodivergency. How do you feel about using the term? Use whatever makes you feel comfortable. So I like that inclusivity in spirit. And I like to also point out too, it's very personal. So I have MS. I have MS. I'm autistic. I use both,
Sure.
right? So I think it's an evolving area as well with language. We'll see what changes, and we'll dance with it to make sure we're resonating with the communities we're respecting and trying to support.
The phrase that we use as an organization is the sunflower. The sunflower is as an organization, that's who we are. We use the term the sunflower because the sunflower is a globally known flower. It's a globally known symbol. Obviously, it's gender neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of don't use the same phrase hidden disabilities wherever we talk about the sunflower as who we are and an organization, and that is by using the term sunflower, we are able to cut through the rest of that because obviously,
Yeah.
as I say, the sunflower is a globally known phrase. So when all of the language that we use whenever we're talking about hidden disabilities and the hidden disability sunflower, it's always the sunflower is this and the sunflower does
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Easy to remember, easy to pass on, which is important,
Correct.
and it
Correct.
remains respectful. I love that. I'm uh, you talked a little bit earlier before we started talking in this interview around sunflower friendly environments. And I wonder if you can tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
So one of the goals of the sunflower has really been to how do we create an environment that all organisations can join, whether that's the largest blue chip organisations and the largest banks, down to your local cafes and your local dry cleaners, because all of these organisations are equally as important to someone with a non-visible disability. If you are a sunflower wearer, it's equally as important that you are given that time to order your coffee as well as you giving your time to go and do your transactions at the local bank.
Mm-hmm.
So we've really worked hard with certain environments to try and create these sunflower friendly spaces. So again, in a similar way that we're working with the POA, with the Pride organisations, we've made that region as autonomous as we could to manage and support the sunflower, and then we've encouraged businesses of all sizes to join the sunflower, which in essence then encourages people to visit. So an example of this is the Isle of Wight of the UK. So people from Canada may not know what the Isle of Wight is, but it's a tiny little dot of an island that is just off the coast of the south coast of the UK. And we worked with the Isle of Wight to do exactly that. So we worked with the local council. We're working with them to create a sunflower friendly island. So whether it was the local pub or it was a guest house, all of these organisations had the ability to add their location to our map of sunflower friendly locations. And then what we did is the Isle of Wight is a very big tourist location across the UK. We went out to the sunflower community and we said to the sunflower community, if you visit the Isle of Wight, it's not only the larger organisations that typically support the sunflower, it's every organisation, no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing. If you're a sunflower wearer and you wear your sunflower lanyard, you will be supported walking down that street by wearing your sunflower.
Yeah.
So we went out to the sunflower community and we advertised the fact that the Isle of Wight is a sunflower friendly island, and it's been really successful. It's been great. It's been a really successful environment and a really successful experience for us as an organisation to create that. And we're using that. We're kind of using that same template in other places now. So we've done the same in Jersey. We've done the same in Guernsey, and we're working on the same similar theme at the Isle of Man. So we're kind of using that sort of like that way to try and involve all businesses, whether they're large or small, to support their disabled communities. Don't know what the population of the Isle of Wight is. It's not many. It's in the region, but it's a tourist island, Claire. So people go there on holiday. You get to get to the Isle of Wight, you have to take either the Isle of Wight ferry or you have to take the Isle of Wight hovercraft. Both are sunflower friendly. So so from the minute you get on, so you have to take the ferry or the hovercraft. So from the minute you climb on board on your ferry or hovercraft to the time you're over on the island on your holidays, as a sunflower wearer, you can be confident that the vast majority of organisations recognise and understand that not all disabilities are visible.
That's an amazing initiative. I love that. Do you think that if we're thinking of the community of people with hidden challenges and non-visible disabilities, do you think there's an expectation now? Like I'm sensing that it's rising in Canada to be treated well when you go into a store or are traveling. Do you think that, and that expectation relates to the size of the place, that the bigger the company, the greater the expectation that that company would have had the resources to learn about an effective way to show up and be a supporter and an ally?
Yeah, I genuinely believe in 2024, businesses need to open their eyes to the disabled communities. The reality is well, okay, using the mantra, the figures across the UK is 1 in 5 people in the UK have some form of disability, and 80% of those disabilities are not visible. So that's 12 million people in the UK. Globally, 1 in 7 people across the globe have a non-visible disability. So that's over 1 billion people. So how can these businesses ignore the disabled communities? And absolutely right. I'm all about fairness. I'm all about fairness in society. I'm all about people having an equal footing in society and an equal voice, and equality in general. So I don't see it's too difficult for organisations to make, and the vast majority of the accommodations that people need, really, as you kind of touched about in regards to the B2B businesses, they're not that difficult. It's all about making a welcoming environment, welcoming space. Don't use the don't use the disabled toilet for somewhere to store all of your boxes. Sort of like make the disabled toilet there is there for disabled people to use that toilet. Make sure that there are accessible parking spots that are very, very close to your entrances. I don't think these adjustments are too difficult for organisations to make. And the reality is, it raises the bar for all organisations, because once one business within that sector sees another business being much more inclusive and much more accessible, they cannot afford to be left behind. Now, there's a huge push in the UK around the Purple Pound, and the Purple Pound, if people haven't heard of the Purple Pound, is the Purple Pound is the amount of expenditure by disabled people that across the UK. So that's called the Purple Pound.
Yeah.
And there's a huge push here in the UK, if you like, for organisations to tap into the Purple Pound. How do you get? Because they've seen that disabled customers really are the most loyal customers that they can find. Because once a disabled customer finds a brand that supports them, finds a brand that reflects their life, which basically a lot of times means employ more disabled people within your environment. You will see those people, and then that obviously will resonate with you as a disabled person. So there's a huge push in the UK around the Purple Pound, and what that is doing, that encourages more and more businesses to make sure that they are accessible to disabled people, and which naturally is going to create a fair society for all. And generally, globally, obviously, we are as an organisation, we are global. From looking at global, the countries that we're working in, they really are on a different path on their actual, or a different stage of their journey in regards to how accessible they really are to disabled people. But the reality is, they are kind of all starting to work towards the same goal. They may be on a different part of their journey. But really, global businesses really have woken up to the idea, to the fact that 1 in 7 of us have got some form of non-visible disability, and they are making a huge mistake by not supporting that element of their customer base. So I kind of really do think that it will take a long time, and certainly with what the Sunflower has helped to do, in my view, it's helped to normalise disability in society. It's helped to remove that kind of stigma where that people, or that fear of showing a disability as a weakness. It's really kind of removed that, because from my perspective, what I've seen, the people that I know with hidden disabilities, of which I know a number of people, they don't want my sympathy. They do want they want my understanding. They want me to be more understanding. And I think that's the same with most people. And they need people to be understanding. And if I give them that level of understanding, they're able to continue their day and go about their day in a much better fashion than they could have done before. And that really is the mantra that we really are using when talking to businesses from a global perspective.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense from the purple pound perspective is looking at the customer spend. We look
Sure.
at the equivalent in terms of employee attraction, retention. Those dollars are really significant too. So, has that been correlated to the employee experience as well, or is it really around customer spend?
Well, the purple pound really is around customer spend. There's kind of two parts to this as an organisation. It's
Mhm.
the purple pound is there to encourage organisations to be accessible to disabled people. Look, that's how much disabled people spend. If you make
Yeah.
you make your stores accessible, then you've got the opportunity to tap into that spend.
Top line hit.
And then,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And then the
Yeah.
other side of it, as we've already touched about, is how do we support our colleagues? It's not just our customers that have got non-visible disabilities;
Mhm.
it's our colleagues.
Yeah.
And kind of the hope with the sunflower is if one of the store staff are wearing a sunflower product, us
Mhm.
as consumers can also see that and also give that person the extra time, care, patience, and understanding. It goes two ways.
It really does. And that is the whole point. What clients are telling me, our members are telling me right now is they love how simple it is. They love that it's easy to train the staff. It's easy to have the conversation. And even though there's, I think, over 1,000 hidden disabilities talked about on the website right now, no one's expected to be an expert in all of them. You're only being expected to say, "Can I help you?" And what do you need?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
absolutely.
bar is low as far as lifting, but the impact is really high.
Correct.
Yeah. Any closing words, Paul, for someone who's thinking, gosh, this program sounds amazing. What would I do? No matter where I am, what should someone do if they want to take a first step to either get a lanyard for themselves, that expresses their what they need, or identify an organization anywhere in the world? What would they do?
So the easiest way to find us really would be just to Google Hidden Disabilities Sunflower. You will come across our website in some way, and you will then be able to see the work that we are doing with organisations, how we go about promoting disability across the globe, and how your organisation can get involved. So Google the sunflower or go to hdsunflower.com, and one of our local representatives, of which Clare, you are one of those, will be delighted to speak with you.
Most definitely so. Paul, thank you so much for joining me today and actually giving me an even fuller understanding of the sunflower journey.
You're very welcome, Claire. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thanks so much for spending time here. Check out happyspacepod.com for links to all the episodes, including on YouTube, our online community, and helpful tools for work that fits. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment on social media, or even better, drop a review. And please share with someone else who you know also deserves a happy space.